Quazi here. What if I told you that you might be living in a computer simulation, a matrix-like reality created by a highly advanced civilization? You know, this is a pretty mind-bending theory that I just came across recently that's been debated by some of the brightest minds in science and technology, even the likes of Elon Musk, who famously stated that there's a 1 in a billion chance that we're in base reality, suggesting that there's a very high chance that we're actually in fact in a simulation. But this theory isn't just wild speculation either. You know, there have been countless real-life tests and experiments that suggest that the simulation hypothesis may not be as far-fetched as it sounds. For example, scientists have created simulated universes using supercomputers and have found that the laws of physics and the behavior of particles in these simulated universes are actually identical to our very own universe. Okay, this has led to some scientists suggesting that if we can create a simulated universe that is indistinguishable from our own, it's possible that our own universe is also a simulation. Just think about that for a second. The idea of living in a computer simulation isn't just a cause for concern. It can actually be used to create a better life. So here's what I mean. By recognizing that our experiences may not be real in the traditional sense, we can begin to question our assumptions and beliefs and open ourselves up to new possible ways of thinking. This means that we can use the simulation hypothesis, okay, to explore the nature of our consciousness and the meaning of our existence and the ability for us to create our own realities. To give you a better example, the theory of the multiverse suggests that there may be an infinite number of parallel universes, each with its own version of reality. And according to neuroscience and quantum physics expert Dr. Joe Dispenza, everything that you desire already exists in the quantum field. This means that your dreams, desires, aspirations are not just wishful thinking, but the very fact that you can think it means it exists. Okay? They're actually real and waiting for you to align yourself with. Now imagine a television. To watch and manifest a different show, you simply switch to a different channel by using the remote. To put it simply, the quantum field is a realm of infinite channels simply waiting for you to change the channel. But it's not just questioning our current reality that I'm going to focus on today. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the true key that allows you to change these channels and make the shift to the parallel lifeline that includes all your wildest dreams and stream it into existence, kind of like Netflix. But this involves recognizing first that there are different versions of you, okay? Different versions of you, different identities that you possess, and each and every single one of these parallel realities. So, in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 main keys to reality shifting that I've learned over the past 7 years of deeply studying and applying this into my very own life. Once you begin to consistently apply this, your life begins to change beyond your wildest imagination. If you don't believe me, just look at some of the comments from people who've been watching this channel. Just the free videos on the channel over the last couple of years. I'm gonna put them up all over here. So with that, let's get started. So before I get started with this, I want you to take a moment to reflect on why your life looks like this and it doesn't look a certain other way. So please take a look at your life right now and all of the events that have happened and the current reality that you're essentially experiencing. Is this what you chose? If not, why not? What do you think is influencing that? What do you think is keeping you or has influenced this current reality and not the ideal reality that you would like to experience? What is that factor that allows you to shift, that allows someone who is experiencing something that they don't like, a reality that they don't like, and go from that to experiencing a reality that they do like? To understand that, we have to understand the concept of a quantum flow, the quantum flow that's around us, and how to navigate through it. If we want to stream the sector of reality of our choosing, we need to understand how we can navigate through this quantum flow. So essentially, there are three main ways to navigate through this quantum flow. And this is largely influenced by the predominant thoughts that we have in our minds and the feelings that we feel in our heart. So anything that you're fearful of keeps you stuck in that fear state, and you think fearful thoughts. Oh, I have bills that I don't like. Oh, the economy is collapsing. Oh, all of these bad things are happening. This then makes you think fearful thoughts and feel fearful feelings. When our heart and our minds come together, we make a shift in this quantum flow. We actually make a disturbance in the quantum field. So if you can imagine this quantum field that's around us, it's always perfectly in balance. Mother Nature likes to keep everything in perfect harmony with zero disturbance. What we as human beings do with our thoughts and feelings is, in this homogeneous field, we create a disturbance. It gets all bunched up over here, let's say, if you're attributing too much meaning, or you're thinking too much, or you're doubting something too much. And this, by the virtue of our thought and feeling, the intensity of the thought and feeling, we create a disturbance. So now Mother Nature has to come in and balance out this disturbance. How does it do that? Through taking the path of least resistance. So more often than not, the very thing that we fear is actually the thing that we get. Okay? If you fear bills, if you fear problems, then those problems come to you. It's life's cruel way of teaching you the lesson and getting you out of this state of fear. Because Mother Nature knows that if you are very, very fearful of something, if you experience the very thing that you fear, your fear will be gone. Have you ever seen this? Like the very thing that you had a fear of, when it happens, you're like, oh, that was it? It was much worse in my mind. It's already happened, it's done. So more often than not, Mother Nature's way of balancing out this imbalance in the quantum field is by giving you the very thing that you're afraid of. So now we have to understand how to prevent that from happening by ourselves learning how to navigate through the quantum flow and keeping ourselves in harmony. So as I mentioned to you, there's three main ways to do it. The first and most common way that human beings go about it is through the victim mindset. It's when we go with the flow. And when I say going with the flow, I don't mean you just simply, you're in balance and you're going with the flow. You go with the flow because you feel like a victim. You're being taken by the flow. You're being washed by the flow. Okay? You have no control over it. You're indignant. You're basically blaming your external circumstances. Oh, I can't do anything about it. Oh, I was placed in this circumstance. Oh, there's nothing I can do to change it. And by staying in this victim mindset, by blaming your external circumstances, the flow washes you. You get washed by the flow and wherever it's going. If you're enjoying the life that you live right now, then going with the flow is perfectly fine, right? Because you're living the life that you want. Why would you not go with the flow? But more often than not, people aren't living the lives that they want, and they're going with the flow because they don't know how to influence the flow in their favor. So this is way number one, method number one. Method number two is largely very common. It's when you get into personal development and you learn about taking massive action and you start to go against the flow. Think about all the Grant Cardones and all these influencers who go out there and they're like, take massive action, fight every day, battle every day. This is when you're living a constant battle. Now this method, I believe, has a little more powerful than the passivity of going with the flow because it's more active, there's more energy. Now you're doing something about it, which is phenomenal. So for someone who is in this passive state of apathy, getting a little more energy and being in anger, being in you're still, by the way, blaming your external circumstances. You're like, life gave me this, I'm going to fight. But you still start to exert a little too much energy. Okay, you start to fight against an invisible force. Every single day feels like a struggle. It feels like you have to battle. And by the end of the day, you almost have no energy left and you're drained, right? Because you have a chip on your shoulder. So this method is still not the most effective way, but this is also another way in which people deal with the flow and trying to influence the flow in their favor. Now, the last and the most effective way that I believe of navigating the quantum field is actually redirecting the flow. This is the way of the reality creator. I'm going to explain what this means in a second. So in life, there are things that you like and things you don't like. When things happen that we don't necessarily like, instead of expressing our dissatisfaction with it, we can simply accept it and move on and do something about it and change it. So sometimes you go with the flow, sometimes you fight against the flow. So it's kind of like having a sailboat and the winds You have no control over where the winds are. But what you do have control over is how you set your sails so you can go to the direction that you want to go. You're using the power, you're harnessing the power of the wind, and you're redirecting it to the direction you want to go. This is how you redirect the flow of life. Once you learn how to redirect the flow of life, you're essentially using the quantum field to deliver you to your target destination. Does that make sense? If you can learn to do that in every single aspect of your life, I can promise you within a few short years, you're going to have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And the best way to redirect flow is through a method I like to call accept and redirect. Let's jump right into the accept and redirect method. And I'm going to give you some examples of how you can begin to use it and see results happen right before your very eyes. So now let's talk about one of the most powerful ways to redirect the flow of reality, which is the accept and redirect method. So to begin with, I want to give you an example from where I got this. There's a martial art called Aikido, and it's Japanese, I believe, and it roughly translates to unification of energy. And how this martial art is conducted, every time your opponent strikes a blow, instead of dodging or defending the blow, the other person who is well versed in Aikido, they will absorb the energy and the momentum of the blow and redirect it to that person. So when they punch you, you're kind of almost deflecting it and using it against them. So this is the accept and redirect method. In this instance, the efficiency of energy changing form is 100%. Right? So no energy is being lost, no energy is being wasted, no energy is needing to be manipulated or created by you. All you're doing is simply taking the energy that already exists and directly changing its form. So this is one of the most efficient ways, one of the least effort and the best ways for you to create your reality and navigate through the quantum flow. Do you understand this? Like, you're no longer fighting against it and you're kind of almost going with the flow, but you're putting up your sails so you kind of go in the direction that you want. It's almost like going with the flow, but in the direction that you want. You're using the power of the flow to take you where you want to go. Another instance that really helped me understand this was, I believe this was Tony Robbins. He was talking about this. He told a story about a drunken father who had two sons, and one of the sons grew up to be just like his father, and the other son grew up to be a CEO. An interviewer, a few years later, I believe, went to the drunken son who turned out just like his father and asked him, "How come you turned out this way?" His answer was, "Well, my father was like that. There's no other way I could have turned out." The interviewer went to the CEO's son and asked, "Well, how come you turned out this way?" And his answer was the same. "Well, my father was like that. I had to turn out this way." So you see how it's the same event happening in the two sons' lives, but they turned out two different ways, even though their answer was the same. The way they perceived it and put meaning on it was completely different. One of them became passive and they were like, "Oh, well, I can't do anything about it. This is the lot that I've been dealt in my life." But the other son did something about it. He was able to redirect the flow and said, "Hey, I need to do something about this. I can use this to make me better." So with every event that happens in your life, you have no choice in how the event happens in the moment that it happens. Because understand that this present moment is continually becoming past. All we have access to is the target. You only have access to that next moment, not the past moment. So in this moment, your perception towards that event, or your perception in general, your attitude in general, is what will influence the next moment that comes. Please understand this. This is one of the most crucial things that I've had to understand in my journey. In order to shift to that lifeline where you have what you want, what do you need? Your thought energy needs to match the right frequency. You need to stream the correct reality. What is your thought energy? What does it consist of? The feelings that you feel, the thoughts that you think. So in order to change this energy, your attitude has to be 100% in line with what you want. So, to give you an example of this, let's say you want to make 20K a month. And one month, you're getting really close to it, but then something breaks in your business. And this was the first month that you've gotten the closest to it. Something breaks, a client requests a refund, or a business system breaks, your ad system shut down. Anything could happen, or you get a massive bill and you can't make that 20K profit. What is your attitude at the instant that that event happens? Is this a setback? Are you like, oh shit, I've been dealt another bad card, I was so close, but I just didn't make it? Or is your attitude that of, you know what, this happened, but this doesn't mean I won't make it. Somehow this is benefiting me. Which approach closely resembles the accept and redirect method? If you guessed the second one, you're correct. So understand how that resembles the accept and redirect method. When the event happens that we don't like, it doesn't match what we were expecting, but we completely accept it. This too has happened. I cannot change this current event. What I can do is what happens in the next moment. I learned this lesson from golf. Tiger Woods said, it doesn't matter what happened in this shot, it's always about the next shot. In golf, it's always about the next shot. So you always have to think about that next moment. What attitude am I perceiving this with? What meaning am I putting onto this? Because whatever attitude and whatever meaning you put onto this event will shape the future events to come. For most people, when they have an obstacle, and this is why they stay stuck, they look at it, they perceive it negatively. Their thought energy attunes to that negative lifeline, and they keep staying stuck in the same loop over and over again because they're asleep, they've fallen asleep, they've become a puppet to the flow, they're being washed by the flow. Instead of taking a step back, regaining conscious awareness, and then choosing. This is what you have to learn to do. Learn to center yourself and see and observe life as it's happening. You're not the experiencer, you're the observer. You can choose when to experience and you can choose when to withdraw. This is what you have to learn to do, to take a step back and watch the play as it unfolds. Don't be the actor or actress, be the watcher. And this is how you use the accept and redirect method. It is always about the meaning that we put onto it. And a great book that I would recommend you read is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. It's a story about a guy who was in a Nazi prison camp. He's Jewish, and how he maintained a positive attitude throughout it, and how it eventually, helped him get through it. And one of the greatest quotes that I've ever heard was, everything can be taken from a man, I'm paraphrasing, except his attitude. Right? So everything can be taken from you except your attitude. That is the one thing that is in your control at all times. And surprisingly, it is what influences future events that unfold in your life. To fully make use of this, we have to learn how to get into 100% resonance with that final goal. Because if you can energetically and frequency-wise get into vibrationally, get into 100% resonance with that end goal that you have and stay with it. The problem is we can't stay with it. If you can stay with it at all times, no matter what, then you'll move the fastest path towards that goal. And in order to do that, we have to understand one more thing. And this is called the energetic resonance method. So the final and the most powerful way to experience that ideal reality, the ideal simulation, and stream it into existence right now is to get into 100% energetic resonance with that final goal that you have. And towards the end of this, I'm going to give you a use case, how you can begin to use it right now. So let's get started. So the biggest problem, the biggest thing that keeps you away from that ideal reality that you would like to experience is something that I've heard a lot of our clients describe recently, FUD. Now I had to look up what this meant, and I found out it stands for fear, uncertainty, doubt. I think, you could correct me if I'm wrong. But fear, uncertainty, and doubt are of the same emotional resonance. Okay, they're of the same level, and it's the level of fear. So fear, uncertainty, and doubt keep us stuck in the current cycle that we've been in. The reason why you can't experience the reality that you would like to experience is because you feel the predominant feelings of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. How do you eliminate fear, uncertainty, and doubt? It's very, very simple. Experience gratitude instead. I want you to take a moment to reflect on this. When I feel grateful, can I experience fear? It's impossible. When I'm grateful, can I experience uncertainty? It's impossible. When I'm grateful, can I experience doubt? Impossible. We waste so much time experiencing fear, experiencing uncertainty, and experiencing doubt. It doesn't serve you. Because deep down, there's a part of us, the ego, if you'd like to call it, it believes that if you experience fear, it's good for me. Fear is keeping me alive. Uncertainty is keeping me alive. Doubt is making me question myself and my decisions. It's keeping me alive. Quite the contrary. It's something that we've made ourselves believe. There is a feeling of analyzing and verifying and checking, but doubt, that the persistent one that you keep experiencing again and again, even though you don't need to, that is useless. Okay? So much time in the spiritual journey, in this creation journey, we experience doubt. It keeps us from fully doubling down and making the mistakes we need to make in order to learn. How many times before you've launched a big project, or you've maybe turned in a big project, have you experienced doubt? Was it helpful? Did it help you? I bet it didn't. Because if you just go ahead and fail, you fail with flying colors, you will at least learn a lesson that will help you at that next phase of your life. So with experiencing doubt, you're preventing yourself from failing. Every single wealthy person I know has lost money. Every single poor person I know has never lost money because they've lived safe and they have never put themselves out there. If only you can put yourself out there and you fail, you can be successful. You can never succeed without first failing. Like, this was a big game changer for me, right? All the people who stay stuck is because they're stuck in a comfort zone. They never do anything to put themselves out of their comfort zones. They never, take a risk. They never invest their money. If you have taken all these risks and you have failed, kudos to you because you've tried, right? Because you're trying. Trying doesn't mean failing. Failing is when you don't try at all and you stay stuck in the same situation again and again. So it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt that keeps us stuck. Gratitude is the way out. So let's understand what fear means. Where does fear, uncertainty, and doubt stem from? What does this really mean? Fear literally stems from the focus on have not. Okay, when I'm focusing on what I do not have, I'm fearful. When I'm focusing on what I do not have, something that's unknown, I'm fearful, I'm doubtful, I'm uncertain. When I focus on what I do have, glass half full, I'm grateful. When I focus on what already is, I'm grateful. The biggest problem we see with people who don't have clarity on their lives, they're uncertain, they don't know what to do, is because they're focusing on what they don't know. When you start to focus on what you do know at this moment and just act on it with the trust and the faith that the unknown will present itself to you when the time is right, that's exactly what happens. When you stay stuck in that feeling state of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you keep creating an invisible wall in your life, okay? This invisible wall is the reason why you're stuck. It's like the chicken and egg situation. You think you'll get clear and your problem will be solved once you get clear. But in order to get clear, you need to get rid of unclarity or fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? So you need to make the internal shift first in order to see some external change. There's so many people I see, like sometimes I post in the community and they're like, oh, but what do you do if you're poor right now? We talk about how to have a wealth mindset, but what do you do if you're poor right now? How can you feel rich? Try your best. Look at what the little things that you do have, not what you don't have. It's very subjective. You only think you're poor because you're fucking comparing yourself to other people on Instagram and Facebook and all these other places. You're like, oh, that's rich. I'm poor. I don't have. Well, you have a lot more than a lot of people in a lot of different places. If you're watching this video right now, you have a lot more than a lot of people in a lot of different places. I can tell you that for sure. And once you keep doubling down on that, that keeps growing. When you keep doubling down on your fear, uncertainty, and doubt, then your fear, uncertainty, and doubt keep growing. When you keep doubling down on what you're grateful for, then what you're grateful for keeps growing. To give you a real concrete example of this, we had one of our clients, Jay, I'm gonna mask his identity for this sake, and he was struggling with compulsive masturbation, compulsive habits, smoking and drugs basically, and he was struggling with all of these things. And every time, and this was like 6-7 months for a year, he would come on the calls and ask me like, what's going on? I keep relapsing, I keep going back into my old habits, I've been in this process for a while. And what I started to realize was he was extremely hard on himself. He was only focusing on what he didn't have and what he didn't accomplish and all the goals that he failed to do. I simply advised him, dude, you just need to start loving yourself. You don't love yourself enough. You don't appreciate the nice things you've done. Imagine having a kid or a friend and you just constantly keep picking at them for not being good enough, for not doing the right thing. Their self-image is going to crumble. They're not going to believe in themselves. Would you ever treat someone close to you like that? Why do you treat yourself like that? Why? It just doesn't make sense because we think if we're hard on ourselves, we'll grow. It's complete bullshit. Be nice to yourself. Be kind to yourself. View yourself as a human being. Once you start doing that, your life begins to change. So I simply advise them, just become a little bit more loving towards yourself. Appreciate the things that you've done, the little things that you've done, all the good that you've accomplished already in your life. And ignore all the bad things that happen. Every time you relapse, just move on We're all human, happens to all of us. We make mistakes. And as he started to do that, it literally took around 3 weeks, like 20 days. He came on a call, he said, my life completely changed. Ever since I started doing that. I haven't relapsed ever since. So this is one of the most powerful ways with which you can begin to change your life. Just feeling grateful for all the things that you have right now. And that is how you get into 100% emotional resonance with the goal. Let's now look at a use case in which you can begin to use this. Going back to that example of making 20K a month. I love this 20K a month goal because this is something that I struggled with when I first started in this journey around 4 years ago. And I wanted financial freedom, I wanted to quit my job, and I thought getting 20K a month would give me everything that I wanted and more. You know, I really struggled getting to this. It took me a while to get to this, and there were a lot of obstacles in my way. So let's say you want to achieve a certain revenue goal, a certain monetary goal in your business or maybe your career, right? The same example applies. Your goal is 20K a month. Let's talk about the energy that is behind that goal. What would you feel if you had 20K a month? For me, it was that abundance of wealth. The feeling, the energy behind it, the energetic feeling is abundance of wealth. Because the heart doesn't understand 20K a month. The goal is for the mind. The number is for the mind. The feeling is this feeling of an abundance of wealth. When I feel an abundance of wealth, it is different from what you feel to be an abundance of wealth. Every single feeling has a different quality. Even though it has a similar flavor, it has a very distinctly different quality. Everyone feels everything differently, okay? And every single feeling differs in energy from another feeling. So you know what this abundance of wealth feels like to you. So now, let's say, you try to go for that 20K a month goal and you want to get into complete energetic resonance with that goal. How do you do that when you don't have it? That's the real question. Well, look at everything that you do have in your life right now. What are a couple of things that you can identify in your life right now that corresponds to this energy of abundance of wealth? The key is to experience this energy right now in this moment, not in the next moment, right now. How can you experience this right now? Oh, I'm living in a house. This house is nice. There are nice features to this house. I could easily not be living in a house. I could easily not have a roof over my head. I could easily not have food. The very fact that I have all of these things. Look, I can afford books to enrich my intellect. The fact that I can afford that now, I'm already experiencing this abundance right now. I'm grateful for all of the things that I have right now. So what is something that can correspond to this abundance of wealth in this very moment? Identify 3 things right now. What I want you to do right now is pause this video and look at that abundance of wealth, if that is something you're after. Identify your goal that you want to experience within the next 12 months. Identify the energy behind it, and identify 3 things that you have right now that you can be grateful for. 3 things, and you can do this, that closely resemble that. So if you're struggling with a relationship goal, your partner and you have a strained relationship. Well, where in the past did you have a good relationship? How could it be worse, right? How could life be worse than what it already is? When you look at that, it's very easy to be grateful. Things could be a lot worse than what it is right now. I can promise you that. As human beings, we only look at 99% of our lives are going the way that we want. We're only focused on that 1% that isn't going the way that we want. That is causing all of our suffering. Okay? Once you start to focus on this, once you start to experience great gratitude for what you have right now, you immediately shift to that lifeline where the goal that you have exists and you start to move towards it, right? Because now you're in energetic resonance with it. Remember initially in the video, I was talking about how you need to understand that there's multiple versions of yourself in every single reality. The crucial point, and this is one of the ways to do it, is to shift into that identity of that self you would be when you're effortlessly experiencing that goal, okay? Who would you be if you're effortlessly experiencing that goal? Because when we assume that being right now in this moment, then the actions that we need to take to get there, the doing follows. And when the doing happens, the having also happens as a result. And just like that, you bring that reality that seems so far away from this current state and you experience it right now in this moment. Slowly but surely, you experience that. So the best way to do that is through a method I like to call identity shifting, through shifting your identity. I made a 46-minute, one of the most comprehensive videos, if not the most comprehensive video on identity shifting on YouTube. You can just click on this link right now. It's completely free for you to access. I want you to benefit from this. Watch it, right now, click on this and access that identity shifting video. It's the fastest way for you to shift into your ideal self, and I'll see you in the next video right now. Thanks.